are ways to watch the show in addition to listening to it on 99.7 FM or on a streaming platform of your choosing, and you're invited to do that because it adds an extra dynamic, and I'm enjoying being at home. I've kind of changed a little bit of the dynamic and the scenery in the home office. You can see my bookcase back there with my I Hate Murphy license plate. There's all sorts of things to see on the thing there. That's my I was given the Jimmy Carter for President poster as a joke. The folks that gave that to me knew that I was born in Georgia. So anyway, that said, join us on Super Talk TV at your leisure. You can also join the show by dialing up 615-737-9986. That's 615-737-WWTN. Either dial that up and utilize the telephone as God intended it and talk to us, a dialogue. Always good to turn a monologue into a dialogue. Or you can super text to the show. As soon as I get the super text up and running, I'll be able to view those on the super text line, 615-737-9986. So I mentioned, Belle, did I tell you the theme of my my surprise party? Did I mention that yesterday? I thought I did.
Oh, the party I wasn't invited to?
The party that you were not invited to because Erica did not believe that you would come. Yes. I have nothing to do with it. That's all I can tell you.
No idea what the theme was. I don't know if you know this, but I wasn't there.
Well, that's because you weren't invited. I mean, and once again, I had nothing to do with it. But you
married her.
I will suggest to you that in her defense, she had limited slots to fill, and she genuinely did not feel like you would come. But that's up one way or the other. You know how much I love you. How much Erica loves you is kind of up for debate at this point. That said, it was a Big Lebowski-themed surprise party. And I was given a robe. I was given a number of different things. If you are a fan of the Big Lebowski, you might recognize this robe. I haven't. Hold on, I'll show you. Can you see this? You see what I was given? See that right? See that right there, Bill? You looking at that?
Yeah.
You know what that is?
Is that a copy?
This is the sweater. A company called Pendleton made these sweaters prior to the movie. And obviously nobody knew who Pendleton was, and they used them. I have no idea who the costume designer was, but obviously Jeff Bridges wore a Pendleton sweater, and it became the dude sweater. And I was bought a dude sweater, which is pretty cool. But I was bet today that I would not, considering that I'm convalescing and getting over COVID at home, that I would not dress as the dude on Super Talk TV today. And I did. So I won that bet, and I have no idea what I won.
Who did you bet?
A buddy of mine, Grant.
Oh, okay. You lost, Grant. You lost.
There you go. So there it is. And for you aficionados of the film, you will note that I have my Jackie Treehorn Productions T-shirt on. Jackie Treehorn is a prominent figure in the film. Anyway, so much to do today. We have a couple of guests to tell you about. David Corlew will be along in the 2 o'clock hour, and I know David was on this morning with Dan Mandis. I heard a little bit of that conversation, and I'm proud to have David on this afternoon. We both, Dan and I, have been long affiliated with the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project. It is one of the honors of being in Nashville, Tennessee, that I've had an opportunity to meet David Corlew, get to know him, get to know Charlie Daniels through him, and get to know the organization through David as well. They have a big Patriot dinner coming up tomorrow night, and we will talk to David about the dinner itself and the purpose of the dinner and everything that surrounds that. That's coming up in the 2 o'clock hour. Just a little bit from now, in about 15 minutes or so, we'll have the two Aarons of the Tennessee Faith and Freedom Coalition on with us to talk about some local politics that has turned rather nasty. With regard to conservative on conservative violence, or so-called conservative on conservative violence. And what I mean by that is we have conservatives in the state of Tennessee that have risen to a certain level of prominence, at least in terms of their following. They claim to be, pure conservatives that are arguing that 9/11 was an inside job. And they made that argument on 9/11. a complete and total insult to the people that lost their lives and loved ones that were affected permanently, life-alteringly on 9/11, 2001. And I'm talking about the organizer of an organization called Tennessee Stands, which many of you may not be familiar with. Some of you may be familiar with. The Tennessee Stands organization has been around for a number of years. They predated me in the state. It is run by a man by the name of Gary Humble, and Gary Humble chose 9/11, 22 years after the worst tragedy in the history of the United States of America, to essentially, and I'll let you judge whether or not he's doing this all out, he essentially claimed that it was an inside job, orchestrated apparently by George W. Bush, which is, I don't care what you think about George W. Bush, and I'm on record as saying that I do not believe that George W. Bush was a good president, and I certainly do not believe that he governed in a traditional conservative fashion. Of course, I don't believe Donald Trump did either. Ooh, did I just say that? Yeah, I just said that because it's true. I'm one that'll call the baby ugly. Donald Trump was not a physical conservative by any objective standard. Donald Trump was not a physical conservative. Physical, not physical. Physical conservative. But that said, George W. Bush was a lot of things. An orchestrator of the attacks on 9/11, he was not. And sadly, a so-called conservative organization that is duping a lot of people in this state decided to claim that he was yesterday. Many lawmakers spoke back about this. I spoke on it yesterday briefly, and we'll speak on it more directly with the Tennessee Faith and Freedom Coalition with the two Aarons, Aaron Goldbranson and Aaron Spradlin, coming up at 12:35 today. Your telephone calls all afternoon long, of course, as we dive into the issues of the day. And no issue in Washington, D.C., at least, more prominent or more top of fold than the Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy's decision to launch a formal impeachment inquiry against President Joe Biden. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy announcing earlier today that House Republicans have, pardon me, uncovered serious and credible allegations into President into President Joe Biden's conduct that will serve as the basis of an inquiry regarding impeachment. This is the way that impeachment is supposed to go. The political Democrats did it a different way during the Trump administration. They just wanted to get Trump and get Trump as quickly as they possibly could. And in that effort, they forewent an impeachment inquiry and went directly into impeachment. They just rolled out articles of impeachment over what they thought they had and dumped them on the House floor and let the chips fall where they may. And obviously Donald Trump was impeached twice by a Democrat-run House of Representatives, and he was not convicted either time. The suggestion would be that the same might come of this. But I would tell you that doing it the right way, in the proper fashion, as Kevin McCarthy is. By the way, can we get a little kudos for Kevin McCarthy? Anybody? I understand there was a lot of consternation. I did not share that consternation regarding Kevin McCarthy. I understand that Kevin McCarthy is not the conservative that Tennesseans would elect as Speaker of the House. I understand, and I think many of you do, that Kevin McCarthy is not a conservative by our standards. He is a California Republican. A California Republican is going to look considerably different than a Tennessee Republican. That said, he was the guy that was able to cobble together the votes, and he is now Speaker of the House. There was a lot of concern about whether he would govern as Speaker of the House in a fashion that would make us proud. I think he has. I mean, tell me he hasn't, and tell me how he hasn't. Kevin McCarthy, by my count, has done everything that he promised to do that he is legally able to do with regard to his position and his role as the Speaker of the House and as the leader of the Republican Party in the House of Representatives. I don't know of anything else he could have done. Now, that's not to say that he won't screw it up tomorrow, and that's not to say that I agree with the manner in which the Republican machine operates in Washington, D.C. each day, every minute of every day. But on the whole, I give the man an A grade so far. He has done what he made promises to do. And one of the things that he made promises to do was to hold the Biden administration to account with regard to the accusations of wrongdoing when Joe Biden was vice president of the United States. McCarthy gave a statement at the Capitol today detailing allegations of abuse of power, obstruction, and corruption by Joe Biden. He announced that Republicans would open an official impeachment inquiry into the president of the United States. Quote, through our investigations, we found that Joe Biden, President Biden, did lie to the American people about his own knowledge of his family's foreign business dealings. Eyewitnesses have testified that the president joined on multiple phone calls, had multiple interactions, dinners, resulted in cars and millions of dollars into his son's and his son's business partners' accounts. In other words, Joe Biden consistently and repeatedly told the American people that he never once, not ever did Joe Biden have any conversation with his son about any of his business dealings whatsoever. Of course he did not. I mean, I could play you clip after clip. You've heard them. Well, actually, I can't play you clip after clip because I'm at home and I got audio issues, but be that as it may, I could if I was back in studio. You've heard them. Joe Biden over and over and over again declaring that he never had any conversations, never had any interaction, never had any business dealings with his son Hunter or any of the individuals that his son surrounded himself with. And we now know that that was a lie, repeated early in the campaign and often. And it merits investigation. Democrats, of course, will dismiss this as a witch hunt, as you might expect. Actually, the White House coming out earlier today and saying that it was the most disgusting display of politics. Oh, it's just so gross. You heard it in the top of the hour news there. The White House say, oh, this is just the grossest display. No, we watched the grossest display of political politics and politicking in a way, the politics of personal destruction during the Trump administration. We watched 2.5 years of the Russian collusion hoax that all of you knew was a damned lie from the moment that it came out of your mouth. We watched untold millions of dollars being wasted, American taxpayer dollars wasted on a nonsensical special counsel investigation led by Robert Mueller. An investigation that led to nothing. We watched as millions more dollars were wasted on impeachment not inquiries, but impeachment proceedings that ultimately led to nothing. We watched as liberal partisans in the mainstream media over and over and over again bent over backwards for the Democrat Party, being sycophants, being really a propaganda wing of the Democrat Party in a way that would have made the Stalinist USSR proud. Or, I imagine that in Hugo Chavez is smiling from his grave in Venezuela the way that the mainstream media defended and protected the Democrats while attacked and assailed the opposing political party. That's what authoritarian governments approve of when it comes to state-run media. We watched all of that for 4 years. And we watched as it slowly cost an election to Donald Trump. And, obviously there was a lot of malfeasance going on too. That said, we've seen the real levels of political corruption. This time around, it's real, and I hope that the Republican Party acts in a measured way that prevents the political left from overtaking the narrative, and they already have an advantage. They always have an advantage when it comes to these types of political stories because they have the mainstream media on their side. I mean, at best, the conservative right has, to a certain degree, Fox News, Newsmax, talk radio, political podcasts, true thinkers. If you are a thinker and if you value factual information, then you get to the truth on these matters. And with time, I was talking to someone yesterday. As a matter of fact, I was talking to someone whom I just want to bet from yesterday, my buddy Grant. And we were talking about the amount of people in the United States of America that don't get truth. The amount of people in the United States of America that don't get information so that they can evaluate circumstances on their own. If you don't have the evidence in front of you, you can't make an informed decision about what the hell's going on in this country. And sadly, most media outlets are not giving honest information to allow the American people to make decisions for themselves. All that to say, it's a good day. Congrats to Kevin McCarthy. We'll get into that over the course of the day. I want to reflect on 9/11 for just a moment before we turn our attention to the two errands in the Tennessee Faith and Freedom Coalition at about 12:35 this afternoon. We'll do that in a moment. It's 12:22, just getting underway on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Oh, yeah, McGill's world-famous Glock store just off Airlane Drive, off of Elm Hill Pike, on Airlane Drive, I should say. When you see it, when you find it, you'll know it. It is huge. The campus is impressive. They have literally divisions. They have their manufacturing department where they manufacture their own parts on site with their 3D manufacturing processes. And I'll tell you, I've taken the tour, and it is impressive in and of itself. They ship all across the United States of America and beyond. And with that, they have a huge shipping department. They've got a great retail space, 35,000 square feet. I mean, they simply are the biggest, and they are the best when it comes to customer service, when it comes to training. They have tactical shooting rooms. They do not believe in lanes. They believe in rooms, because your life doesn't happen in a lane. Your life happens in the real world, and they simulate that real world activity when they train you at the world-famous Glock store. I invite you to go online and find out more about the world-famous Glock store. Go to glockstore.com. Excuse me. You can also go to shoot270.com to find out more about some of their memberships that they have at their Shoot 270 ranges. And when you stop by, check out the concealed carry underpants that I keep promising that I'm going to get, which would go perfect with my outfit today. It's the world-famous Glock store. I invite you to stop by. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you. You might see me training one of these days. Glockstore.com or shoot270.com. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy for the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief in Franklin. You've heard me say this for some time now because it's true. One of the first telephone calls that I made when I got to Nashville was to the Dr. Gill Center. I knew I needed to deal with my lower back pain, and I certainly did with the Dr. Gill Center. Now they're helping me with my knee pain. That's right. Yes, I had a little pickleball knee injury, but it is all better now. Thank you to the Dr. Gill Center. I got some laser therapy. I got some ultrasound therapy on my knee. Thankfully, it was not structural in nature. It was just tissue-based, and we got it taken care of at the Dr. Gill Center. They are experts, of course, in spinal and degenerative disc issues, but they're also now experts in knee issues. So if you have knee pain, they're inviting you to give them a call today. The Dr. Gill Center, 615-882-4838, 615-882-4838. It's the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Franklin. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You're always invited to be a part of the show, whether you agree or disagree with the humble host. That would be me. You're welcome to be a part. 615-737-9986. We'd love to talk with you. 615-737-9986. Just to give you a little health update, I feel outside of a scratchy throat, which causes a cough, a little bit of a lingering cough, I feel 100%. If you missed any of the show yesterday, you might have missed that during my week-long vacation, somewhere between various points in Mississippi, New Orleans, Louisiana, the coast of Alabama and Florida, and points unknown, I picked up some COVID. And I know that I did because I tested for it because I was planning to head by my in-laws and did not want to get my in-laws sick. Understanding that, colds are communicable. I get it. The flu's communicable. I get it. But I didn't want to get them sick. So I discovered I had COVID. Pretty bad driving home Friday. Saturday was worse. Sunday was kind of crappy, and yesterday was all right. And today I'm back after it. So I would diagnose it for those interested as mild flu or nasty cold with a little fever involved. But all better now and back in studio tomorrow. Excited about that. Excited to have Alice Rowley with us. Alice Rowley is running for mayor of Nashville against Freddie O'Connell, who I expect will be on the show Friday, win or lose. He has agreed to be on with us Friday. And, if Freddie O'Connell somehow wins the mayoral election, I understand that I'm not going to agree, you're not going to agree with some of the policies of a Freddie O'Connell administration. But I also believe it is in the best interest of everyone in the metropolitan Nashville region, everyone in Middle Tennessee, that we have some level of relationship with the mayor, at least to try to drive our point of view into the mayor's office, at least to present that there are plenty of conservative-minded people or moderate people, libertarians, in this community that matter, and to present the point of view of the greater metropolitan region that matters with regard to Nashville as well. I mean, we often say that Nashville matters to Wilson County, or that Nashville matters to Murray County, or Nashville matters to Rutherford or to Sumner. And that's true, obviously. But guess what? Sumner County matters to Nashville too. And Rutherford matters to Nashville too. And Murray matters, and Wilson matters, and every other surrounding county. And really all of the communities in Middle Tennessee, they are incredibly important to Nashville. So it's important that he recognizes, if he becomes mayor, and look, I'm on record as saying that if I lived in Davidson County, I'd be voting for Alice Rowley. I believe that she is best positioned to lead. I will say that I have a level of respect for Freddie O'Connell in that he knows that I've said that, and he's still willing to come on the show and have some good, robust discussions with us. Okay. So Friday, win or lose, he'll be on. Tomorrow, Alice Rowley will be on with us. Coming up in just moments, We've got the two Aarons, Aaron Goldbranson and Aaron Spradlin of the Tennessee Faith and Freedom Coalition. What an odd set of circumstances that happened yesterday.
Just one Aaron.
Oh, is there just one Aaron today?
Yes, just Goldbranson.
Oh, just the Aaron G as opposed to Aaron S. Okay, well, that's cool. So, we'll miss Aaron S, but we'll take Aaron G. He's the first Aaron just because of the G. To talk about primarily, well, I want to get a postmortem on the special session from Aaron's perspective because the Tennessee Faith and Freedom Coalition actually helped secure a victory there. But it is odd and head-scratching what has come out of the organization Tennessee Stands of late. And we will talk to him about it in just a moment. It is 12:32, Super Talk 99.7 WTN, and the Matt Murphy Show continues after this. The Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project is such a wonderful organization. They have their big Patriot dinner coming up tomorrow night, and I was just moving over to the website to see if we have closed entries into the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project in a way where I think, let me look at this. I want to say these entries have now closed. But maybe not. Go over to 997WTN.com. You might have an opportunity to win a chance to sit at the Patriot Dinner. It's a sold-out event, and we'll talk with David Corlew about it a little bit later on. The Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project, this is their annual event to thank the wonderful patriots that make it possible what they do. And what they do is simple. They help the veterans, the men and women that protect the freedoms and liberties that we enjoy and hold so precious. They help those individuals reintegrate into society, and it is easy to say that, well, we're kind of done with that now, considering the war in Afghanistan is closed down, but do not be mistaken. There are men and women right now who have a weapon and have manned a post and are protecting freedom and liberty around the globe in our best interest, and we need to have their back. Go to the CharlieDanielsJourneyHomeProject.org. That's the CharlieDanielsJourneyHomeProject.org for more information, and hope to see you at the Patriot Awards Dinner tomorrow night at the Charlie Daniels Patriot Awards Dinner. It's the CharlieDanielsJourneyHomeProject.org. Did you know that World Heart Day is September 29th? It's true. Heart disease and stroke are the world's leading cause of death. They claim 20 million lives in 2022. Let me say that again real quick. 20 million lives in 2022. Did you know that 80% of premature cardiovascular disease deaths are preventable? This is why I believe so much in Kraft Body Scan that has now come to Nashville. This is not brand new technology. CT scans have been around, but they have modernized the technology, and they're getting better every single moment of every single day. And Kraft Body Scan has been around since 2017. They have just launched a location here in Nashville, and they're offering you and a couple a partner, a significant other, a wife, spouse, whatnot, a heart and lung scan for just $149. Put your heart first. If you have congenital heart disease, a heart birth defect, a family history of heart disease, or any heart issue, do not wait. Cardiovascular disease doesn't wait, and you don't need to either. Call 615-436-1000, 615-436-1000, or go to craftbodyscan.com to learn more and to book your scan today. I did this scan. It is simple. It takes mere minutes of your day, and you will have the peace of mind that you deserve. Go to craftbodyscan.com today. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN and the Matt Murphy Show in progress. Pleased that you have joined us. I'm still Hume. I'll be back in studio tomorrow, and I have decided to dress. I'm dressed like this if you're watching on the Super Talk television side of things, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. This is my official dude outfit from The Big Lebowski, but I'm dressed this way just to win a bet. That's how petty that I can be. Speaking of petty, Aaron Goldbranson's with us. No, I'm just kidding.
What an intro.
Couldn't even pull that off. Aaron Goldbranson with the Tennessee Faith and Freedom Coalition joins us. Oddly, I'm at home and he's in studio. How's it going, man?
I feel like I have made a hostile takeover over here. I'm sitting in the captain's chair, your chair, and you're sitting at home dressed like the dude. I mean, this is a wild world we're living in right now. How are you doing?
Little do you know that when this interview is done, I'm going to make a White Russian and you're finishing the show. How about that?
Oh, here you go.
Yeah.
You want to talk about Goldbranson Uncensored then, man. Wowee.
Speaking of uncensored, that leads me into a topic that I'm very curious to get your thoughts on. So let me start here. What can you tell me about the organization Tennessee Stands or Gary Humble, who is the leader of the organization? I know they predated me. I was told that this was the way that it was described to me was this is an ultra-conservative think tank that is trying to hold Republicans in the state of Tennessee accountable. What do you make of this organization?
Well, I think that they say a couple decent things, especially about COVID. I think that, honestly, Kim Edwards, who held the first three reopen rallies in the state of Tennessee, and then Gary Humble came along after her, ostensibly, I mean, I honestly personally view Tennessee Stands as an organization that Gary created to be a vehicle for him to run for public office. You don't kind of start an organization and then run for office a year later. I mean, I'm certainly not doing that. None of my board members are doing that. So that's his right if he wants to do that sort of thing. But honestly, if you look at how they've talked about the members of the General Assembly and various legislation, that sort of thing, they view themselves, in my opinion, as a bit of a watchdog group, which at times they do good things. But they honestly are by and large an anti-Republican organization, in my view.
Well, it occurred to me, and you and I had a brief conversation, or text exchange about this, Aaron. It occurs to me that I hear Gary Humble and Tennessee Stands racking Republicans all the time. Yeah. I see it and I hear it. I don't hear them going after liberals very much, but I hear them attacking the governor, Bill Lee. I hear them making things up about what's going to happen with the special session, which never came to fruition. And look, you and I could sit down and have a robust conversation and would probably agree a lot on the inadequacies of the Bush administration. But yesterday, what Gary did with Tennessee Stands was not suggest, and I'll just read it for folks, like the plandemic, 9/11 was probably just a coincidental opportunity for the elites to continue their takedown of our Constitution. Probably not. What does that mean? That, to me, my reading of that is that Gary Humble is saying that 9/11 was an inside job.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I interpreted it. That's how Jody Barrett appeared to have interpreted it. That's how many members of the General Assembly, including Jody, as well as Jason Zachary, John Reagan, who served our country. Here's the thing for me and also my board. So for me, 9/11 is a very deeply personal thing. My grandfather helped build the Trade Center as a construction worker. My father worked there. I was supposed to be on my last day working at the Sean Hannity show on 9/11/2001, and it wound up being 9/10. Various cousins and uncles were firemen. Thank God none of them died, but people grabbed their gear in the Gulbranson family and ran down to the towers and saved lives. And then my father spent 6 months working down, cleaning up, helping clean up the rubble and in the buildings in the surrounding area. I believe, unlike the garbage, Pride Month that we have in this country, there should be like a Patriot Month and a Hero Month and something like that. So regardless of what you think about George Bush, and I don't like George Bush, I'll be very clear about that. I could talk about it with you for hours on that subject. But what I think that Gary Humble did yesterday, and he wasn't the only one, Joe Biden did the same dang thing in a different way. Joe Biden ignored the ceremonies, didn't go. He was the first president ever to, and then he made a deal with Iran for $6 billion. What Gary Humble did through his Tennessee Stands account, in my opinion, was to just spit on the graves of the people that died, and then also spit on the service as well as the other graves of all the people, military members that went and served, inspired by patriotism and their love of service of this country. And so, and we're very proud at the Tennessee Faith and Freedom Coalition of our board chairman, Aaron Spradlin's service, not just saving children for the last 7 years with his other foundation, the Mission America, but also for his service to this country in Afghanistan. So I think Gary Humble, honestly, in Tennessee Stands, owes the families of those that died and were affected by 9/11, as well as the military men and all people who've served this country. I think they owe them an apology, and I think it's a sin and a shame of what they did.
There was another post by the organization, and I look at, and am I right in looking at Tennessee Stands as an organization and Gary Humble as interchangeable?
Yeah,
am I right in doing that?
I believe he controls the Twitter account.
Yeah, I mean, I do too. He sent out a painting, which I'm told is by an artist named Patrina Ryan Clyde, of George W. Bush sitting seemingly in the White House with his legs crossed, what we used to call when I was a kid Indian style. I think they call it crisscross applesauce now, Aaron, because you can't say Indian style. And he's sitting and he's flying paper airplanes into blocks, and it looks like the blocks had been set up as buildings and they have now been toppled. There's one airplane that's already down and there's another airplane coming, once again suggesting that George W. Bush was responsible for the death of 2,977 Americans on 9/11/2001. Once again, the one thing that I can tell you that I believed George W. Bush got right was the immediate aftermath. Now, sadly, we didn't see with clear 2020 vision what was coming, but at very least, I think he got the immediate response and the immediate aftermath correct in terms of our response of 9/11. To suggest that he was aware of it or responsible for it is something that conservative-minded people, really any patriotic American, should shun. Gary Humble should be an absolute pariah in politics in Tennessee. Yet here we are. Am I taking too strong of a stand on this?
No, especially because if you're going to insinuate something like that, you might as well. I mean, this is one of his cases where he didn't do one of his 20-minute videos wearing eyeliner. He would have actually done better to explain himself. But, honestly, I mean, but I'm not surprised this is a guy who has supported legislation and supported Justin Jones, has opposed the right to work amendment, has opposed ending slavery in the Tennessee Constitution. I mean, there's just a number of things. These are policy disagreements. And that I have very strongly with Gary Humble, and I haven't really seen him defend it. But this is a grave. This is not a policy disagreement. If you have issues with George Bush, I am right there with you. If you have issues that have how the man governed the country, especially the last several years of his term, I'm right there with you. But the fact that you are absolutely spitting on the graves and the service of people in the military, first responders, firemen, I mean, it makes you no better than a Marxist.
No, I agree. I agree. And by the way, my saying that in the immediate aftermath of 9/11 that I thought that George W. Bush handled it well is not in any way a support of the Patriot Act. Because while I tried to give every benefit of the doubt to the Patriot Act, it was obviously a mistake, and a lot of what the Patriot Act did needs to be rolled back in America, and some of it has. So I hear the audience asking the question, or at least I feel that they would be asking the question, and so I'll ask it to you, Aaron. Why should we care? Why should we care what one guy with an organization has to say about this?
I think it's very important because he holds himself up to as somebody who wants to influence what we're doing in the state of Tennessee. Now, most of the time he spends his time trashing Republicans. I mean, I've seen him trash Donald Trump. We know he doesn't like Donald Trump. Donald Trump yesterday actually was very honorable towards the whole thing and honored the dead. But you see somebody that has run for office, and this is probably really the thing. This is somebody who's run for office in the past. He has made statements that he is likely to run for office again. So you should get, if you're running for office, you should get a higher level of vetting than you would other people. So that'd be another thing. But really and truly, when you are attempting to impact public policy and you do things like this, then you get called to the carpet. Again, there are things that are policy disagreements, and you can defend them or you can oppose them. But this is like a third rail that is an utter sin. This is not a policy disagreement. So that's why we should care. And, and furthermore, I would say it's very specious as to why he decided to do that on that day in that way. Very strange to me.
Me as well. 12:47. I want to take a quick time out, a little early bell, and we'll come back with Aaron Goldbrandt and talk about a few other things. I'd love to. In a moment, we will get Aaron's post-mortem, if you will, on the special session. I know that he loved a portion of the special session that dealt with tackling the scourge of human and child trafficking in the state of Tennessee and beyond. We'll get him to expound on that in just a moment. It's the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Lots of ways to communicate with the broadcast. You can do so via the telephone line, 615-737-9986. You can also, hey, look, we got a split screen finally. You can also hit us up on Super Text. Many of you have. This is the Super Text of the day, man. Tell Mandis to install the Brian Wilson setup so you don't have to commute every day. Well, I think you just did, 4269, and I thank you. Aaron Gilbranson with the Tennessee Faith and Freedom Coalition is back in studio. I'm at the house. I'll be back in studio tomorrow. My quarantine's up then. Your grade of the special, it was a session that many of us had concerns about. It was a session that many of us early on suggested was not necessary, but that's not our call. That's the call of the governor. What was accomplished, Aaron, for those who don't know?
Well, number one, what was accomplished was a massive victory in the ongoing, and I want to be very clear here, it's a massive victory and it's a start to the ongoing renewed war on child and human trafficking in the state of Tennessee. So just to review real quick is we initially and we talked about this with you on your show, but we initially opposed the special session. When it became clear that nothing that we could do would stop the special session, we decided to turn lemonade from the lemons, right? And so we believe that every chance you get, you should take the opportunity to save children and work towards that end goal of eliminating child and human trafficking in the state of Tennessee. So we told the governor that, we had disagreed with him, but we also told the governor that we were willing to work together and we were enthusiastic about working with him as well as the General Assembly on anything we could do that could move that ball down the field. So, long story short, we were able to get a yearly TBI reporting bill through the special session. It was the first bill that both the House and the Senate passed, and the governor signed it into law, I believe, on Friday. So that was a big victory. Why is that a big victory is the question. I know some people who are not kind of, government geeks the way I am are like, what is the big deal about a report? You know what? They haven't done a report in 10 years. And you can't go and argue about or debate or advocate for funding or, we need 20 new agents or 40 new agents to go fight child and human trafficking without having a baseline. So that is what this yearly report does. On December 1st, we will have a baseline of the incidence of child and human trafficking in the state of Tennessee. And then a year later, we're going to see progress. And I think every good conservative in the state or in the country probably would agree with the following statement is that government functions best when it is held accountable. That is why it has to be yearly, because then you see progress. You can see progress for, you can see progress against. But this is the start of a slate of probably is going to wind up to be about 10 bills that we're going to pass with the support of Leader Jack Johnson, William Lambert, and Governor Lee, and many other members of the General Assembly like Jake McCalman and Jody Barrett and a few of the others. But yeah, and also the other very, very important moment was when 30 members of the General Assembly, including a bunch of the people that I just said, stood with us, and Jeremy Faison was up there too, stood up there with us and declared war on child and human trafficking in the state of Tennessee. And Congressman Andy Ogles thought it important enough to join us on that stage. So this is in terms of the war on child and human trafficking, I would give the special session an A plus, because we just started it, we kickstarted it, and we're going to keep going, and we're not going to stop until every last women, child, and even men in the state are safe from this scourge.
Well, I would agree that it is the central thing that you can point to. I mean, there are a couple of other, monetary, the monetary allotment that goes to various agencies that are going to assist those agencies are one thing. But the beginning of the end of child trafficking in Tennessee is what we saw out of the special session. And if that's all we get out of the special session, I consider it worth it. And thank you to the Tennessee Faith and Freedom Coalition for your role in making that happen, Aaron. We do appreciate it.
Thank you.
I appreciate you being on today. Thanks, man.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, there's Aaron Goldbranson from the studio, oddly. I'm from home, and we'll be back in just a moment. 1 hour down and 2 to go. Don't forget David Corlew in the final hour of the show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I did not realize we had so many 9/11 truthers in the audience. We'll address those in just a moment on Super Talk.
From From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. The escaped inmate in Pennsylvania on the run for nearly 2 weeks now armed after a run-in with a homeowner.
Confirmation from the Pennsylvania State Police that prison escapee and convicted killer Danilo Cavalcante is not only still on the run, but armed after a homeowner confronted him late last night and called 911.
Indicating a short Hispanic male, no shirt, and wearing dark pants, had entered his garage and that he grabbed a .22 rifle.
And State Police Lieutenant George Bivens says the confrontation in rural Pennsylvania outside Philadelphia didn't end there.
The homeowner drew a pistol and fired at Cavalcante as he fled with the rifle.
Still no capture now, nearly 2 weeks since Cavalcante's escape. Derek Dennis, ABC News.
Republican House Leader Kevin McCarthy moving to open an impeachment inquiry into President Biden over his son Hunter Biden's business dealings.
Speaker McCarthy's calling this impeachment inquiry the logical next step.
The American people deserve to know that the public offices are not for sale and that the federal government is not being used to cover up the actions of a politically associated family.
White House counsel spokesperson Ian Sams tweeting in response that this is an example of, quote, extreme politics at its worst. Brittany Shepard, ABC News, Washington.
The antitrust trial against Google began today. The Justice Department alleging that the search engine is a monopoly. ABC's Elizabeth Schulze has more.
What the DOJ is saying here is that Google accounts for like 90% of all search inquiries in the United States, and that it has these anti-competitive tactics to stay in that position of power, which makes Google more money. It keeps getting more clicks, and that it kind of is a self-reinforcing monopoly, at least according to the government.
A frantic search for victims in Morocco continues after the massive earthquake. Nearly 3,000 people have died so far. You're listening to ABC News.
You know, I mentioned that it was going to get cooler when I was mentioning efficient heating and cooling just yesterday. As a matter of fact, Jeff Eddy of Efficient Heating and Cooling can help you when it's hot, and obviously they can help you when it's cool. And when it gets cool, you're going to want to crank up that heater, obviously, at some point. Maybe not yet. Maybe not tomorrow. Maybe not the next day. But as the 50s become the 40s in the morning time hours, you'll crank it up. And if you smell that smell, then you know you've not called Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling and done what you needed to do to get your unit up to snuff before the winter season. It is important. One, it can save you life on the unit. That means years of life out of your heater. And years of life out of your heater means thousands of dollars in your wallet. You can also make it more efficient by maintaining that unit. And Jeff Eddy can assist in that, and that will keep your bills down. Efficient Heating and Cooling is a small company with big service and big results. They're not going to overcharge you. They never charge you overtime. And on a maintenance call, you never pay more than $125, no matter how many units you have at your residence. Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling, they truly do it the right way. I trust them. You can too. They're a diamond contractor with Mitsubishi Electric and Elite Pro partner with Rheem. Call 615-784-4424. 784-4424 for Efficient Heating and Cooling. All right, here we go. Matt Murphy Show, hour number 2. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I don't know what that means by David Corlew, but sorry, I got a little bit distracted. I'm coming from home. I'm wearing a robe with purpose. Let me get my thing shaped up. I look so much better in my camera than I do in your camera there, Belle. I think Belle's intentionally fuzzing the camera to make me look uglier. You know what?
That, and I also stretched the picture to make you look fatter.
You know, I believe that because I
did
look
not.
I look good. Over here on my camera, I look good. I look tanned. I mean, I know that I've got a little reverse raccoon going on because of my
You're
bike
right.
ride.
I did actually wash out the contrast to make you look really pale. No, I'm kidding. I did not do that.
You're such a jerk. I wouldn't put it past you, Headless Bell. Headless Bell back at the controls, making sure that everything that comes out of our speakers, and I suppose our cameras, sounds and look as good as humanly possible. I'm at home. I'll be back in studio tomorrow. Would love to hear from you. And I'll tell you what I'll do. Because I was planning on speaking a little bit about the aftermath of the 22nd anniversary of 9/11. Anyway, if you are a 9/11 truther, call me. I won't yell at you. I'm fascinated at the number of and look. I guess I understand it in as much as I don't trust major facets of my government. And thankfully, we have an open enough government that we have exposed those areas of government that have lost their way in terms of their service to the American people. As I've mentioned so many times, I'm sure regular listeners of the Matt Murphy Show are sick to death of hearing it. That the FBI is a corrupted organization from the head down to the point that it has to be blown up and start over. You have to start over. There's no salvaging that organization. That said, I do not believe, I believe that 9/11 was the result of massive incompetence, not complicity, and not collusion, and not conspiracy. But there are many people, and I think the pandemic has continued it and somewhat grown it. There are many people that sadly believe that 9/11 was an inside job. Sandra writes in and says, truthers, it's amazing to me they're more than willing to believe the government did it versus 12 individuals tied to terrorism. Ray says all those 9/11 truthers aren't smart enough to understand how thousands and thousands of jet fuel, pounds, I guess, or gallons of jet fuel burning would cause the towers to fail. Actually, you know what was more responsible than anything for the towers failing, which had never happened. You know, a lot of 9/11 truthers like to point to the fact that the failure of the towers, a steel structure along those lines, had never failed due to plane strike or fire of that fashion. Well, you'd never had planes of that size loaded with fuel in that fashion hitting buildings like that. First time in history. What caused structural damage more so than the fire was the fact that the blast impact blew the fire retardant insulation off of a lot of the steel girders in the buildings. All of the steel girders had obviously had fire retardation on them, and as a result of the impact, the 500 to 600 mile an hour impact, literally the insulation was blasted off of the steel girders, which allowed the steel to heat up to the point where it compressed, compacted, and the floors began sagging and the building fell into itself, which is why the buildings fell straight down. I've done the research on all of this. And, a lot of the 9/11 truthers are out there on the super text line, telling me that I'm just a part of the sheeple. I'm just that's me, man. I'm just following the herd, wherever they take me. That's what I do.
Weren't you working for the government on 9/11? Didn't you have a government job back then?
I was, Bell, I've told you, if I tell you one more time, it'll be 100. I was in WTC 7. I was nowhere near either of the other two towers. I was in 7.
What were you doing in 7? Planting bombs?
I was pulling it like they told me to. They said pull it, I pull it. In all seriousness, before we get into some of the 9/11, and you're welcome to call. Look, I don't hate on you. God love you. You're Americans like everyone else. You're entitled to your opinion, however wrong, misguided, or out and out dumb your opinion might be. You're entitled to it. Explain Building 7 collapsing from just a fire. No, I mean you could. 4500 wants me to explain Building 7, WTC 7. When they said pull it, they were pulling the effort on the part of the New York City Fire Department trying to save the building. They gave up on the building and allowed the building to completely implode. 21. The conspiracy theories are coming so fast and furious, it's hard for me to keep up. We found 4 passports of the terrorist. One of the passports was given to a cop by an unidentified passerby. Matt, you're absolutely 100% correct. If it was incompetent, that calls 9/11. You hang in there, buddy. We're here for you, and God's for you, so who can be against you? Well, I appreciate that. And I can say that your opinion is wrong and misguided and ignorant as well. Well, you can say that my opinion is wrong. You can say that my opinion is misguided. But 6436, I would suggest that it is not ignorant because I have done 22 years of research on the subject, and I would put my research on the subject. While I do not claim to know everything about 9/11 and never have, I would put I've watched Loose Change, man. I've watched every conspiracy documentary that exists on 9/11, and I understand the holes in these conspiracy theories. I understand how conspiracy theories work. If you want to get me worked up on it, that's me. Excuse me. I got to let the other sheep by. Just come on by. Okay, they went on by. If you want to go there, we can go there. Conspiracy theories work by cherry-picking information that fit the conspiracy theory that you've already formed in your own mind, and you omit other information that might dispel the theory itself that you have decided for yourself is already true. So you dismiss facts that go against the theory, and you find ways around those facts that go against the theory. I mean, if you make a determination that something is so, and facts get in your way of that determination, you can always figure out, well, that's what they want you to believe. Or, well, they put that there to intentionally mislead you. There are people, maybe in our audience, that believed then and believe now that there was no plane that hit the Pentagon. $98.42 says, jet fuel doesn't burn nearly hot enough to melt steel, especially symmetrically, so the buildings fall straight down into their footprints.
There's a great video on YouTube of a blacksmith who heats up a piece of rebar to the point where all he has to do is take a single finger to be able to bend it.
Right.
And it's not even close to melting.
Yeah, And once the structural integrity was compromised on the interior of the building, because all of the elevators were, once that structural integrity began to compromise, the weight of the upper floors pushed down on the lower floors, and that weight pancaked on itself, and the weight got so great that the uncompromised lower floors failed as well. I don't necessarily have any interest in debating the inner workings of all of this. I find it fascinating more than amusing. It's not amusing because I think it's sad that so many people have been taken in by this. What benefit do you get from believing that your own government did this? In order to believe that it was a structural demolition, you have to believe that your own government did it. In order for you to believe that, there has to be a reason. So I guess we'll do it this way. Tell me I won't argue with you that 9/11 was an inside job. I'll accept that as a premise that is true for the sake of this argument. But 9/11 truthers, I'm interested in you telling me why. Tell me I will not argue with you. I will not lay anything on you. I will not. We can talk as grown people, as peers, as fellow Americans, as fellow Tennesseans, or wherever you might be across this great country of ours, or across the world. All I want to know is if you believe that this happened as a result of, or with the knowledge of the United States of America, or as the result of actions by the United States of America. Just tell me why. Why? Why did the government of the United States of America kill almost 3,000 of our own people? Or maybe those people did not get killed. Maybe they were relocated somewhere. I don't know what the conclusions of your individual conspiracy theories might be, but I'm very curious about what you think the goal of the American government was involving these conspiracy theories.
Well, it was to justify our adventurism in the Middle East, which is what caused the attack to happen, which allowed us to justify our adventurism, which caused the attack to happen.
Oh, yeah. That makes... See, silly me, Bell. I thought it was... I thought it was covering up Jeffrey Epstein. That's what I thought. Like maybe there was some information in I have heard the theory that it wasn't about the North or the South Tower, that it was all about World Trade Center 7, and that the two big towers were just a diversion in order to get rid of World Trade Center 7. I've heard that one with a fair amount of regularity. 615-737-9986. If you have a thought on it, we'll entertain this for a moment or two, and frankly, until I get tired of it. Nathan is in Nashville with a thought on September 11th. Hey, Nathan, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm well. What's your idea?
I think it was to enforce the Patriot Act. Let me give you a little bit of background from me. I've been working on aircraft for almost 2 decades. And one thing that I noticed that raised a flag with me was the nose of the aircraft popping out the other side of the buildings on almost all the videos that I saw of that. And that's one of the most delicate part of the aircraft is the nose. You can punch it with your fist and put a hand through it. A bird could strike it and go all the way into the cockpit. There is no physical way for an airplane of any size to make it through concrete and steel. You were right about the weakening of the steel at 1,700 degrees where jet fuel burns. It can structurally degrade it. But they found beads of steel, and steel won't liquefy until it's about 22 to 2,500 degrees. And jet fuel, even if it's blown to a higher temperature, it can only get to 1,700.
But it wasn't just jet fuel burning at that point. I promise not to argue with you, but I would just offer the comment that it was not just jet fuel burning. It was also the fuel of the building itself was burning.
Right, but you're only going to get so hot with that. Is my point. But you're right. It would degrade the structural integrity of that steel to make it collapse. My main point is the videos that we have, whether doctored or not, that front of that nose of that plane made it through the other side of the building on almost every angle of every video that we've watched since 2001, and it's not possible.
Yeah, I've not seen it, and I've seen the video. I don't know that I've ever seen a video. I'm sure I have. I've seen a bulging on the other side, but that's the pressure, and that's blowing out the windows and blowing out the glass and steel on the other side. I've never seen a shot. You would have to educate me on that, Nathan. I've never seen a shot of the nose of any of the aircraft coming out of the other side of the buildings. I've seen the buildings bulging on the other side where the pressure of the impact blew out the other side of the building, which is obviously what would happen. But
yeah, I mean, almost to a point to where the aircraft is made of aluminum. It's like an aluminum can.
Oh yeah, it's very it's almost
very very.
We don't like to think of it this way because we fly in them, but they're flimsy.
They are very flimsy.
Because they have to be light.
You hit one with a cart with a golf cart, and you got to take it through structural repairs for months. For it to even go inside the building that's made of steel, through the window area, I can see kind of that. But for it to make it out the other side was just okay, what's really going on here? And their main push was the Patriot Act. Also, you mentioned earlier about Bush's quick response. Ended up being about not bin Laden, but about Hussein. He went after Hussein for almost 4 years, when it was bin Laden that had gotten the attacks. He changed courses and didn't think anybody would recognize it.
Well, I mean, I was on the radio. We recognized it in real time.
Yeah.
I mean, I was there. It was no secret. But it wasn't a change in tactic. It was a two-front war. We stayed in Afghanistan. We battled the Taliban. We went after bin Laden. Bush did not ultimately get bin Laden. Obviously, bin Laden was ultimately successfully killed during the Obama administration. But we did both, and we did both for different reasons. And I think people can have different thoughts on whether or not we should have gone after the Taliban or Afghanistan, or whether or not we should have gone into Iraq. It was widely held conventional wisdom that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction and were willing to barter them with terrorists. Obviously, they did not have stockpiles. They had some, but not stockpiles of weapons of mass destruction like the conventional military wisdom suggested. Now, I'm willing to entertain the argument that they knew that when they went in there, but if they knew that, then the rest of the worldwide military intelligence community knew it as well, but they all said the same thing.
Right.
Well, this is good. I think it's a good conversation. And thank you, Nathan, for the call. Wendy, I don't think I belittled Nathan at all. Wendy suggested that I belittled you, Nathan. Did I belittle you? Well, there goes Nathan. It's on me because Bell knows when I'm ready to move on. And we have to move on to a short time out. A few more minutes of this, and we'll move on to Joe Biden, what Joe Biden had to say about 9/11. There is no dispute that Joe Biden is lying about something. We'll play that clip for you in just a moment on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. United Structural Systems is a foundation, repair, and waterproofing company serving Middle Tennessee since 1994. They have over 25,000 satisfied customers when it is hot and dry weather. If you notice soil cracking or pulling away from your home, if your bricks crack, if your drywall separates, if you have the telltale signs of stair-step cracks in masonry or mortar joints, then you might have foundation repair issues. The only way to know is to call the best. Called USS. What about waterproofing? Well, standing water in crawl space is a pretty obvious, it's a tell, right? But maybe your house is trying to tell you something in different ways. Maybe you've noticed cracks in the basement floor. Maybe you just smell a musty smell. Whatever the reason, you need to protect the biggest investment that you'll ever make, the investment of your home. And when it comes to large home repairs, time is important. Don't whistle past the graveyard. Call USS. You need peace of mind. USS, they guarantee their best. Serving Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, and Northern Alabama, online at USSTN.com. Call 615-488-7855, 488-7855. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to USS. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is the Matt Murphy Show. A friendly correspondent until 3 o'clock. Your friend and radio buddy, Brian Wilson, comes up at 3 o'clock from 3 until 7 o'clock. He does The Drive on a daily basis, information-fueled and opinion-driven news talk radio for the masses on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. For those asking, yes, I was getting hot in my sweater, or in my robe, I should say, and so I disrobed. Just go over to Super Talk TV on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and you can see me disrobed. All right, let me see what we have going on here. I have no idea because I've lost my screen. Oh, Adam is next up in Columbia. I am entertaining conspiracy theories regarding 9/11 right now, and without significant pushback. At least we'll have a conversation about it. Hey, Adam, how are you?
Hey, Matt, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing well.
Good. Hey, I'm glad you had a break before you got to me because I was getting a little bit upset. When it comes to this topic of the Twin Towers and who did it, when you say somebody that didn't do it did it, you're really peeing on the memories of those who died in that horrible, horrible situation. It's been proven that, it was a bunch of guys with box blades. And when you start talking about this, everybody becomes an expert. And, I know a friend that knows this about airplanes, or I have a friend that knows this about steel. I guarantee you, any other building just like in the world, you hit it with an airplane, it's probably going to come down. Bottom line, this was done by people that hate America, that hate us, and it was not done by anybody inside. I just honestly can't believe that George Bush could be so evil or inept or stupid enough to let this happen, under his watch. There are things that they could have done to prevent it, but bottom line, nobody in the United States did this. This was done by somebody that hates us. And quit being stupid and saying that somebody internally did it, because if you believe that, I've got some oceanfront property in Arizona for you.
Love it, Adam. Thank you for the call. I appreciate that. And I concur with those remarks. I do. One of the reasons that I took exception and brought up Gary Humble and how shameful. And look, some of you love Gary Humble and you appreciate what he did during COVID. I'm not entirely sure what he did except speak out against the mandates. I was not here. I was in Alabama speaking out against government mandates. There were a lot of mistakes being made during the COVID time, but that doesn't excuse what Gary Humble did yesterday. It was shameful what he did yesterday. He blamed George W. Bush, and he all but said, I don't like people that throw rocks and hide their hands. That's an old saying that my grandfather used to use. Don't throw a rock and hide your hand. If you're going to throw a rock and stand there and look the person that you threw it at in the eye and let them know what happened. Don't run from it. Don't be a coward. And the manner in which Humble and Tennessee Stands and some of these other so-called conservatives are acting is cowardly, because they'll feign, I didn't say that. It's obvious what they intend for you to conclude. They intend for you to conclude that George Bush knew and was a part of a conspiracy to kill almost 3,000 people. And that is spitting on the graves of the victims of 9/11 and the survivors of 9/11. And that's what Gary Humble did. So no matter how much you like him for his past actions, and I'm certain that I would be right there with him on the government mandates. I can agree with him on 5 things and still find his actions regarding 9/11 to be shameful, can't I? And they were. And they are. And it is insulting. And I agree with that. 131 on Super Talk 99.7. Although, whether I agree with you or not, I'd love to hear from you. 615-737-9986. It's the Matt Murphy Show, halfway home on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. This time of year, a lot of folks are thinking ahead. They're thinking about, fall football games and having family and friends over. Maybe you're even thinking about Thanksgiving and the holidays. Whatever you might be thinking about, if you're thinking that it's time for a paint job for your home, interior or exterior, I want you to think Jeremy Reeves. More importantly, I want you to think Nashville Painting Company. I've known Jeremy since, before I knew you. And I've known Jeremy since before you knew Jeremy. Because I knew Jeremy when he was back in Birmingham, and Jeremy painted my house there. And he moved on to Nashville and created Nashville Painting Company, and I knew he would do gangbuster business, and he has. Why? Because he is as professional as they come. He hires qualified people. He doesn't subcontract out work to people that don't know what they're doing. People that come to your home, they are controlled, and they are employed by Nashville Painting Company and Jeremy Reeves. And there's a supervisor on every job besides. So if there's any issue with your paint job, Nashville Painting Company can address it right then and right there without a telephone call needing to be made. They're locally owned and operated. They're fully licensed and insured. They're the best, not the most expensive, just the best. Call Nashville Painting Company today at NashvillePaintingCompany.com. That's NashvillePaintingCompany.com. That's the website, at least. The telephone number, 615-635-0350. And be sure to tell them Matt Murphy sent you. 635-0350 from my friend Jeremy Reeves and Nashville Painting Company. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We might have robust debate or conversation about some of the intimate details involving 9/11. There was a swell of conspiracy regarding 9/11 in the immediate aftermath of the tragedy. It went on for a number of years. It seemed to temper off and fade away. And now there has been a resurgence, I've noticed, in the aftermath of the pandemic. I understand from a psychological standpoint that makes sense to me. Because when we grow suspicious of our government regarding one issue, such as the pandemic and COVID-19 and the willingness of the government and government agents like Anthony Fauci to lie to us, it would make sense that we would reflect in a more suspicious way about other elements of the government. 5577 writes from the super text line. By the way, you're welcome to call 615-737-9986. I asked the question because I don't really have I don't have an interest in arguing with 9/11 truthers, but I am curious what you think the goal was. What do you believe the objective was? Why would the government of the United States of America engage in a conspiracy that involved thousands, if not tens of thousands of people, and have the expectation that all of those people would remain quiet lest they be killed? There must be something pretty damn significant that they're trying to accomplish. If you're going to engage in a conspiracy by which you stage the hijacking of planes and those planes are crashed into buildings for the purpose of diverting our attention or whatever your theory might be, it involves the federal government, the government of the United States of America, involving thousands of people and keeping them quiet. For what purpose? What were they trying to do? What are they trying to accomplish? 615-737-9986. 9/11 was an inside job. They had to do it to get the Patriot Act passed and Homeland Security and take away our rights. Okay. What rights did they seize from you that were so important to get? And I don't like the Patriot Act. I think the Patriot Act went too far. I believe on the balance of liberty and security, we must default to liberty or we'll lose both of them eventually. So just so you understand where I'm coming from, 5577, I was not a fan of the Patriot Act. I've never defended the Patriot Act. Does that mean that every element of the Patriot Act is bad? No. There are some aspects of the Patriot Act that I think accomplished things. I do believe that dismantling some of the walls that prevented communication, interagency communication, were good. I was not a fan of federalizing security in the form of TSA. Although some might suggest that that has worked. I've never really thought of it until just now. But I was not a fan of the Patriot Act. But what rights were seized from you and me that were so important to get that the government of the United States of America created, developed, and initiated and carried out a conspiracy that led to the death of 3,000 people? Americans. They were willing to kill 3,000 Americans, to involve thousands and thousands and thousands of Americans. And by the way, I assume that their calculus, if the conspiracy theories are correct, their calculus could have involved killing hundreds of thousands of Americans. I suppose. But if you're going to lead me into believing your conspiracy theory, then I have to understand what the goals were that they attempted to accomplish and why those goals were so important that they could not do them in a simpler way, that there was not an easier way to get this done. I mean, for example, Patriot Act, well, you just rig elections. Would it not be simpler to rig Dominion machines rather than to kill 3,000 Americans so you can get your country on your side? And 5577 also says there was also molten metal at the base, showing they used thermite to take the building down. People need to wake up. Thank you, 5577. It is the hallmark of a conspiracy theorists. It is a hallmark of conspiracy theories that the individual theorist always believes that they are awake and everyone else is asleep. That if you were just woken up and less of a sheep, that you would get it. 615-737-9986. I'm just asking for the purposes. I'm just asking for the goals. And I'm getting a lot of response. Let's see who. I'm sorry, I don't have my spectacles on. Tim, I believe, has been holding the longest there, Bell, on line 5. Tim is in the borough, and he joins the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hello, Tim.
Tom.
This is Tom.
Oh, sorry, it's Tom. Like I said, I don't have my glasses on, Tom. I apologize.
Oh, that's okay. I'm certainly enjoying the show today.
Well, thank you, sir.
Not to sound like a conspiracy theorist right off the bat, but if you want to know what was really planned, and this was planned when George Herbert Walker Bush was heavily involved with the CIA. Just type in, get your Wikipedia out, everybody that's listening, and type in Operation Northwoods. And that kind of explains where this all started. Fast forwarding to 2001, why was all this done? It was done by the Royal House of Saud. So why we didn't invade Saudi Arabia, I have no idea. However, I do know this. Rudyard Kipling wrote in, I believe, 1836, when the British invaded Afghanistan, as all empires have invaded Afghanistan and failed, and it begins the failure of their empire, much like the Soviet Union, the United States, England. Here lies the fool who tried to hustle the East. As far as the motives go on this, I think that the fact that I can't remember who the Secretary of Defense was, but he stood in front of the Pentagon on September the 10th and said, there's $2.7 trillion we can't account for. Where the airliner hit on September the 10th in Washington, D.C., was in those very offices that were not hardened, and all that information disappeared.
I got one.
What was it all about? It was all about the Benjamins, and all this has been about money. And I challenge people that want to call in, or if you can challenge me, name the last war we won after 1945.
Well, if you don't declare them, you can't win them. So let me ask you a question on Operation Northwoods. Was that a successful operation?
It was a planned operation, and planned operation.
Right? No, it was. It was the industrial military complex presented that as an option to convince the American people to engage against Cuba. And did it ever happen?
It didn't happen because there was cooler heads prevailing at the time.
Who was the cooler head?
John Fitzgerald Kennedy, Secretary of State, and the whole crew knew what would happen.
So we could say the American system of government worked to prevent Operation Northwoods from becoming a reality.
Well, you could, but let me ask you this question.
How do we know about Operation Northwoods?
Well, I know, but you seem to be a very intelligent person, and I'm certainly enjoying your show.
Yeah, I appreciate
and I know the listeners are intelligent. Think about this. 48 hours, and I think that people that live through this, and I lived through it, and we sat there glued to the television at my business and at home. We knew everything about the hijackers within 48 hours. We knew when they went to Boston. We had pictures of them. Everybody knew there were box cutters on board the aircraft. Everybody knew everything. And yet people, and I hate to use this person because I know you're not going to approve of him, Alex Jones said every bit of this, and he knew every bit of it. And, of course, everybody has learned him to...
Alex Jones also said that Sandy Hook was staged. Do you believe that?
He said what?
He said that the Sandy Hook elementary shootings were staged. Do you believe that?
But
do you believe that?
Where that came from? Let me say this. No, I don't believe it.
Well, I don't. Look, I appreciate your piece. I gave you. I don't want to go into Alex Jones. I have no respect. 0.00 respect for Alex Jones, and no interest in discussing him. He is a scumbag of a human being that preyed on people's conspiracy theories to enrich himself and eventually shot his big fat mouth off too much and got his comeuppance and hurt a lot of people along the way. So I don't have any love for Alex Jones. I know some of you do, and so be it. It is 148 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We'll finish this topic up in just a moment. You know what? Believe it or not, I'm enjoying it. I enjoy hearing from different points of view. I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying not to belittle Wendy. Wendy, check on the super text line. How am I doing on the belittling? 615-737-9986. Back in a moment. Hey, folks, it's Matt Murphy. And, if you want to make sure that you have those valuables in a place where they are protected, they're taken care of, I have a company that knows how to do that. It's the only locally owned, safe specialty company in Nashville for over 30 years. They've been in business. It's the Safe House. If you ever notice some of these fly-by-nights that have 2 or 3 safes in the corner, they have their safes on sale, right? Oh, my safe's on sale this week. It's not on sale this week. It's on sale this week. It's not on sale this week. You know what that means? That means when it's not on sale, they're overcharging you. And that's dishonest. And when you buy a safe, you want the company to put the lowest price on that safe that they can. I mean, profit's not a dirty word, but they're going to put the lowest price on that safe that they can at Nashville Safe House. And they have the best of the brands. Browning is a name that most gun owners know and love. And they've got Browning safes. They have some scratch and dents, oftentimes right there on the floor to save you additional amounts of money. At Nashville Safe House, you can save. And they got a price point for every budget. Jewelry safes, corporate safes, gun safes galore at Nashville Safe House. Go to NashvilleSafeHouse.com, NashvilleSafeHouse.com, or stop by 4th Avenue South in Nashville across from City Cemetery. Tell Mark and the gang I said hello, Nashville Safe House. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matt Murphy and you enjoying the conversation this afternoon, Tuesday edition in progress, September 12. We'll get to a few of your calls as we can in just a moment. Here's what Joe Biden had to say yesterday. You know, Joe Biden did not bother. He did not bother to make an appearance in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, or at the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., or at Ground Zero at the new Freedom Tower and the 9/11 Memorial in New York City. But he said that he had already been there. Here's what Joe Biden said about his experience on 9/11 yesterday. Go. Yeah, that didn't happen. I find it ironic that just before he said that, he said, never forget, never forget, never forget. He gets stuck like dementia patients do in saying the same thing over and over. He was like, never forget, never forget, never forget, never forget, never forget. And then he said that he was at the Ground Zero 9/11 site in New York City the day after 9/11, September 12th. He was not. He was at the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. There is footage of him in Washington, D.C. There are contemporaneous reports of him, and he was not there. The best that he...
dog-faced pony soldier.
Joe Biden, the best that you've got is that you forgot. After screaming, never forget, never forget, never forget, you forgot. That's the best that you can argue. The worst is that you're just a lying dog-faced pony soldier.
You want to see my temper? Keep going.
Well, I do. And typically people with dementia have worse tempers. Okay, real quick, let's get to as many as we can. Brian is next up in Nashville to discuss 9/11 and potentially a reason why the government would have been involved. Hey, Brian, how are you?
Hey, brother. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. My children sometimes are, and we bicker back and forth about that. But, of course, with all the shenanigans going on with the last, except for Trump, of course, I'm a Trumper. Obama, the Bushes, even before that, Clinton's, of course, before that, and now this ding dong we've got. And when we say stuff about dementia, I hate that we even attach that to Biden's name because he's just a moron. He may have dementia, but he's worse off. That gives dementia patients. It really does. I mean, I'm not serious, but I'm serious.
No, you know? I hear you. I'm right there with you.
Anyway, my take on this is what you call the military or industrial military complex. I think it's all about the money. It's what the guy said before he got off track or y'all got off track or whatever about the Jones guy. But it is, I mean, it goes back to money. The reason you would do something like this, and I'm not saying they did, I mean, it would take a killer coordinated event to do that, but is the money. They want to start a war. So Cheney, who was the biggest warmonger, I think, except for the Biden. And that's what it's about. It's about start a war, get the kickback from the military budget, and let's go. And I think
I hear you, but let me respond real quick because the music's in the background. I hear you, but couldn't you start a war if fewer American lives lost? Why would you kill so many people? Why would you cause so much massive? I mean, I would feel like, and thank you for the call, I would feel like if your goal was to start a war, you could do it in a better way, involving less people, involving less variables, because this is just, you're just opening yourself up to get caught. I don't know. I would think that there would be better ways to start a war, but I hear what you're saying. And there you have it, our Conspiracy Theory Hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Two o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Currently 74 degrees and an overcast, cloudy day in Nashville with a chance of thunderstorms this afternoon headed in to tonight. No severe storms. And that starts the cool off for this week. Rest of sunny skies and cooler temps the rest of this week ahead. Complete forecast just 2 minutes away. 5 former police officers now face federal civil rights charges in the death of Tyree Nichols. Aaron Katursky reporting.
The January beating death of Tyree Nichols after a traffic stop in Memphis strengthened nationwide calls for police reform and led to the deactivation of the Memphis Police Department's Scorpion Unit, credited with crime suppression but feared for its aggressive, even violent tactics. The federal indictment charges each of the officers with deprivation of rights under the color of law through excessive force and through deliberate indifference. The same 5 officers have pleaded not guilty to state charges of second-degree murder.
In crime, right here in Tennessee, Channel 4 reports that a woman has been accused of driving under the influence along with driving the wrong way on Briley Parkway near Lebanon Road before hitting a striper truck head-on. This crash happened last night, and the painting crew in that truck was unharmed while the woman was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, and there was no propane leak from that truck like officials first feared. Pennsylvania's Governor Josh Shapiro telling reporters today that he's, quote, confident that they'll capture escaped convict Danilo Cavalcante at some point, saying they have contained him to an area. But as former FBI agent Brad Garrett notes, without knowing how large that area is, it's unclear how close they actually are to containing Cavalcante.
I'm going to assume the governor is saying that it's a relatively small area, like several blocks, or maybe something a little bigger than that. Because if you get much bigger than that in an environment that's so rural and so wooded, you can run into problems really big time as far as, is he really within your circle?
And officials believe that Cavalcante currently does not have a shirt on. That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy for my friends at Mill Creek View, Tennessee. I've told you a lot about Steve Abramowitz in Mill Creek View, Tennessee, and what they do for our community and how he's been doing it. He's got incredibly informative interviews. It's a podcast that you need to know about if you live in Middle Tennessee, really anywhere in the state of Tennessee. You go to Mill Creek View and you'll find artists, you'll find entertainers, you'll find a variety of different figures that can, help you learn a little more about your state, help you learn more about culture and entertainment, and there are a lot of political options on Mill Creek View. You hear Steve from time to time on my radio show because I love what he's doing in Franklin, Tennessee and beyond, and I think you will as well. Go to mcview.us. That's mcview.us. That's the Mill Creek View newspaper. I know I go there every day, and I encourage you to do that as well. And find out more about the podcast on the website, mcview.us. That's mcview.us for Mill Creek View, Tennessee. It is the Matt Murphy Radio Show, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Maybe some weather moving through Middle Tennessee. I don't know because I can't access my radar because my radar's on my phone, and I'm old school. That's the way I do it. But that might be the case, and it might be the reason that we had a little bit of a mic glitch or two toward the end of the last hour. Hopefully that's been taken care of, and we'll make it through the last hour of the show. We're back in studio tomorrow. Pretty good setup here. I was pretty proud of it, but apparently it was providing a few technical difficulties toward the end of the last hour. My apologies for that. Thank you for being with us on this Tuesday edition, September 12, 2023. It's been a good part of the second hour talking, I would categorize them as conspiracy theories regarding September 11th. I will say one final thought on this. And by the way, while I'm saying this, Bell, I failed, and I don't know how to do this exactly this way, but I failed to ask you if you had David's number. I don't know that we communicated on that because David's going to be on with us right around now. And if you don't, I need to get it to you, and you just need to tell me. Yeah, I'll see what I can do because my phone is being occupied right now. So last night, really a lot of the day yesterday. I did not intend to do this, but I do it every year. I find myself watching different shows involving 9/11. And there are a lot of good documentaries concerning 9/11. National Geographic has a series that is dynamic and emotional and tragic, and it breaks me up every time. And I've seen some of these shows 10 times, if not more. And they bust me up every time I see them. And I happened upon, as I was watching one of the shows, and what I typically will do, and I do this in a lot of ways, it drives a lot of people around me crazy, because if I get to a city, for example, I immediately look that city up online, and I try to find out the history of the city, and I start doing nerdy research on it. And if I'm watching a show and they bring something up, I grab my laptop computer and open it up, and I start doing research. And during the course of one of the episodes last night, it was mentioned how a lot of the media networks refused to cover certain aspects of 9/11 in the immediate aftermath of 9/11, primarily the jumpers. And it led me down a certain rabbit trail that led me to Falling Man. I don't know if that phrase means anything to you. It is a photograph. It's the name of a photograph taken by a photographer for the Associated Press and printed in hundreds of newspapers around the country the day after 9/11. And many, many of those newspapers were destroyed societally in their own communities for posting the photograph, because it was believed that it was a step too far in coverage of the disastrous, tragic, evil events of 9/11. It is a now iconic photograph of a man who had to make the ultimate decision about how his life would end on 9/11. It was eventually determined that this person was a worker. It was believed that it was a worker at the Windows of the World restaurant on the upper floors of the North Tower. And of course, any student of 9/11 knows the North Tower, there was zero way that anyone, I don't know if anyone got away. I want to say that one or two people did, but there was no access beyond where the plane entered the building above for individuals that were above that to get down. And in the South Tower, there was there was a stairway access, and eventually the red bandana guy that I told you about yesterday, he found that access A, I believe it was, and led people around the wreckage in the South Tower prior to the South Tower falling. And in the North Tower, there was no access. And so in the North Tower, they saw considerably more jumpers. It is believed that of 2,977 people that perished on 9/11, that somewhere around 200 of them were forced to make the ultimate decision as to how their life would end. That's the way that I'm going to put it. I do not believe these people committed suicide. They did not commit suicide. But they were put in a position where they had to make a decision about how they would die. If you've never read the article, and I think it was, I have it right now. It was originally in Esquire magazine. It was published several years ago by Tom Junod, and it's called The Falling Man. And it is a very emotional and frank discussion about the raw nature of that day, the rawness of the emotions in the subsequent days, and ultimately he has this discussion about 9/11 in a search for the identity of Falling Man and the different reactions that he got in attempting to find out the identity of Falling Man. Not to add to the tragedy, but to add a name to the list of individuals so incredibly impacted on that day. I encourage you, I'll just sum it up by saying, I don't know that I have a point beyond saying, if you've not read the article or explored the nature of some of the decisions that had to be made that day, it is the most raw moments of 9/11 to me. That and the heroism of the firefighters and the police officers that were going up when everyone else was going down. Those two things combined. But the resolution of the individuals to take back a predetermined fate and to determine their own, even if both outcomes were going to be to meet their maker, the decision to seize control and power about how that is to happen back away from the evil bastard terrorists is an important aspect of the story, and it was emotionally wrenching. I bring it up only to say that it is a reminder of the evil that we face in this world. It's a reminder of the people that protect us from evil in this world. It is a reminder that our American military is good and honorable and just, and that they stand on a line every day, as do our police officers and firefighters every day, to try to prevent tragedy like this from happening again. And I think that's a perfect segue into our next guest. His name is David Corlew. He is with the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project, and he joins us to talk about the wonderful Patriot Award dinner event that's happening tomorrow night. David, I just finished up a very emotional monologue about 9/11, and you know, you and I often get emotional when we talk about the patriots, the men and women, the heroes in uniform that protect our freedoms and liberty on a day-to-day basis. It's good to have you back, my friend. How are you?
I'm good, Matt. Thank you, and always appreciate, obviously, your support and the station's support of the United States military, the men and women that serve, but our foundation, who obviously our journey is to support them in their return. But I just want to throw in quickly that I hope someday, I just spoke to him just a little while ago, but Bernie Carrick, who was the police chief, police commissioner in New York during 9/11, you need to sit down and have a conversation with Bernie for him to talk about what he saw, what he witnessed that day, And that was the thing that I understand. I've talked to quite a few people, including but not limited to Bernie, is the sound of those people hitting the roof where they were standing is beyond really kind of the human psyche, and the impact that made on their lives from that point forward is
yeah. You're going to break me up,
compelling.
David, because I tell you, I saw a piece last night where one of the firefighters, one of the battalion chiefs who was there in charge, they were showing raw video and just the flinching that all of them did when they would hear the noise. And he was interviewed years later, and he said it wasn't so much the sound, it was how often it happened. And it really truly is those men and those women who wear a uniform, who wear a badge, and I know that we focus on our servicemen and women, rightly so, that protect us from evil. I mean, you've told me for years, I feel like I know Charlie Daniels through you, David. I really mean that, and it's been a blessing and an honor to get to know you, and a blessing and an honor to get to know Charlie through you and the organization through you. But I mean, he said it, right? I mean, that there's two things that protect us from evil, right?
That's it. The God Almighty and the United States military. That's all we have. And sometimes it's disturbing to see how both are treated, both God and our military and our first responders. You know, it's these people, they sign on the dotted line. And no matter what you end up doing, whatever your MOS, whatever it is that you do in your time of service, when you signed on that dotted line, it was a check payable, cashable up to your life. Now, you might not have ended up in combat. You might not have ended up in some of these dangerous places and some of the hellholes that we've heard about and witnessed. But you signed with that commitment. And so that's why we ask everybody to leave their rank at the door. And that's why we serve all. We serve whoever signed on that dotted line and whoever needs our help and what little we can do to service that.
How many years have you and so many others been a part of the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project? How long has this been going on?
Well, I figured up the other day. That's a great question, and I have the answer. I've been Charlie and I raised money for veterans up till today, 16, 17 years. The Journey Home Project is in its 9th year. Next year will be 10 years. We'll have a big 10-year anniversary. But we started raising money for other organizations prior to Journey Home Project. What we decided was if we were going to raise the money, if we were going to be stewards of that money, and it was going to be in Charlie's name, we were going to just start our own foundation. That way we could monitor it, we could guide it, and make sure that it ended up at the right place. And hopefully now that when we have our donors, especially some of the larger ones, we have dialogue with them, and we want to know where is their compassion? Where is it that they'd like to see happen? I mean, we service, as you well know, Matt, we've had this conversation a lot of times. We have mental wellness programs. We have educational programs that we work with. We have songwriting programs. We've identified over the years, and that's what Journey Home Project is. We donate to other foundations. We ID the foundations that we think that do good work, credible work, and impactful work. We want to see our money work immediately, and we don't have a lot of it, so we want to watch it work. We want to see it work, and yeah.
I look at you. I look at the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project, David, and you tell me if this analogy works. You're like my great doctor. that I've been going to for years and years and years, and I have all the ultimate trust in the world. But if I need a specialist, I go to you, and I find so if I go to you, I know that the specialist is a good one. So you vet these specialists, you vet these organizations, specialty organizations that really focus on individual needs for service members in a way that I couldn't possibly do. And that's why the organization is such a wonderful conduit of my donation, because I know that your interest is to, A, get it to good people that are going to do good work, and B, make sure that you maximize every dollar and get it to the veterans that need it.
Oh, yeah. And, Charlie told me, and I try to abide by it along with the board that serves, is that he would say, and he used to you didn't know it. If you knew him really well, he had this finger that was very crooked, where he had broken it a few times, and he'd point that crooked finger at me and say, "David, you raise that money, you give it away. It's not yours. It's not yours. Give it away. If you need more money, we'll figure out a way to raise it." And that's what we do, because there's a lot of great organizations. I mean, phenomenal organizations that do phenomenal work, but they have millions and millions of dollars in their bank accounts. And so we take pride in being, obviously we want every penny we can raise, but we take pride in doing a lot of work with certainly a smaller bank account than most. And that, in order to do that effectively, we have to watch our money and make sure it's going to the right place, so that there is an impact in some way on someone's life, and it will alter it in a positive way. And that's really what we do.
David, I don't want to rush discussion about the Patriot Awards dinner. Can you hold on for just a minute or two?
You bet.
Do you mind? Okay, we'll take a quick time out. David Corlew's on the line. Matt Murphy from Home Base, talking about the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project, and what a wonderful Patriot Awards dinner that's coming up tomorrow. If you don't have tickets, I'm sad to tell you that this is a sold-out event. This is why we tell you to get them early. But I want to tell you a little about it and some of the special guests that will be honored, the host of the event, and all of that coming up in just a moment with our good guest, David Corlew of the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project. Back in a moment. It's 2:23 on Super Talk. You know, I've lost over 30 pounds with PhD weight loss. Thank you, Dr. Ashley Lucas. Thank you, PhD weight loss, because it's so simple. Now, look, I've done weight loss programs in the past, and some of them have been mildly successful. Complex, yes. Difficult to understand and follow, yes. But this structure and this ability to know and plan your meals and understand what you're going to eat and understand that lean protein you're going to eat tonight, or those veggies you're going to eat tonight, or whatever it might be for lunch today, that's what creates the successful nature of PhD weight loss in its totality. That's why I think they call it PhD weight loss, because you feel like you got a PhD. You're smarter because you're losing weight, you're not hungry, you're eating 5 times a day, and it sheds the weight off of you. Thank you once again to Dr. Ashley Lucas. If you're a guy, you're going to lose on average about 3 to 5 pounds per week. Women lose about 2 to 3 pounds a week. And the PhD guarantee is simple. If you set a goal weight at the beginning of the program, you have a consultation with my consultant, my person that I speak with is Rachel. We talk on a weekly basis. She's my nutritionist, my dietitian, and Rachel and I set a goal weight. We talked about it, what my goals were, what my current weight was. And if you don't get within 5 pounds of your target weight by the end of your program, they'll continue to coach you for free until you do, and you can't ask for more than that. They put their money where their mouth is. Do it today. Visit myphdweightloss.com and begin losing that weight. Get in front of the holidays. myphdweightloss.com.
Former Memphis officers indicted in the death of Tyree Nichols, a father sentenced to jail after taking inappropriate pictures of his former sister-in-law, and an escaped convict in Philadelphia still on the loose. Those stories coming up 30 minutes after the hour of 2 o'clock. Mac Morey here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Morey. Wrapping up with David Corlew. Really not wrapping up, a few more moments with David Corlew, the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project, talking about the organization, one that is just near and dear to my heart, and the annual event, the Charlie Daniels Patriot Awards Dinner. Forgive my ignorance asking this, David, but what was the inspiration behind the annual dinner? Was that always a part of the Journey Home Project, or was it something that came a little bit later on?
You're dead on. It came later on. Charlie and I had long discussions because it is a small organization, and I had some conversation with him about how Journey Home Project could live on past him passing or me passing, and we came up with the idea of coming up with a. And so that I don't make Charlie sound self-centered, he did not come up with the idea of giving away an award with his name on it. It was me. He said, why don't we? And I'm not trying to say it's me, but we decided that if we had an award, a Charlie Daniels Patriot Award, who would not be honored to receive that? I know that I would. I always call Charlie the tip of the spear when it comes to Patriots. And
me too, but anybody.
Yeah, we created that. He loved this country so much, and he loved the freedoms that it offered. He grew up tough, and so we created the Charlie Daniels Patriot Award. This is, I think, our 5th year or 6th year with the award itself. And so we give away normally 3 awards a year. It's usually to a company that goes above and beyond, as well as an individual. Sometimes it can be a foundation, and then we try to find someone that was in the entertainment business or is in the entertainment business. We try to follow the parallels of the things that Charlie stood for, loved, and embraced. And so, music is something, and so we've had. In the music category, we've had Chris Young, who was one of the first recipients. Darryl Worley was a recipient. And now this year, Lee Greenwood is our musical recipient.
It's so apropos, and it's so wonderful to find these individuals that have given so much. And it really is just a reflection, like for Chris Young, for Lee Greenwood, for Charlie himself, some of the wonderful military men and women that will be at the event tomorrow night. I mean, it's we call it an award, but really it's more of a. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong here, David. I don't want to tell you, but it's almost a reflection, just a reflection of the things that they have done in their life to do so much for our military men and women.
Well, it is, Matt, and it's. Hunt's Brothers Pizza is a recipient this year. Mm-hmm. Those guys do so much for first responders, for other military organizations. It's just not us. And then we have a songwriting program. We're honoring some of the guys that approached us with the concept of writing songs with veterans to heal them. So it's, they're diverse. They're all, it's, the wonderful thing about it is I think the selection that we've made year after year are people that do it from the heart, that have no financial drive in it, no reward in it, with the exception is that's who they are, and it's the breath they take, and that's the breath of freedom. And so we want to honor that.
Well, it's a wonderful event. I wish I could say that people could run out and grab tickets, but, I mean, it is a sought-after event. It's going to be at the City Winery, I guess, again this year, of course. And I just can't I can't wait to be able to tell people about it. Give folks more of a sense of, for those who are coming, what they can expect to experience, and tell people how they can give to the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project outside of the awards dinner.
Well, first things first, all you have to do is look up the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project.org, and there is a big donate button. Not a problem. the event itself, we'd look at as, I look at it as also a celebration. We celebrate friendships. It's a rock star of the men and women that have served this country. Obviously, we have combat veterans, but we have every shape, size of veteran possible there. We have family members, and this year we've got a 92-year-old. Gladys was going to come. You remember Gladys?
I do.
We were going to celebrate Gladys's 100th birthday. This year we've got a 92-year-old Marine that fought in the Battle of the Kosar Reservoir in the Korean War. 50,000 Chinese they were up against. There were more Americans that froze to death in that battle than even died of gunshots. So it's an array. As my mother-in-law would say, it was a plethora of of military and family and friends, and so we try to make it just a celebration along with the awards, and we just want everybody to have a good time. And I'm going to tell you, Matt, I just had a friend pull out. He's not going to be able to make it to town. I do have 2 more seats. If then sometime during the rest of your show, you want to give those 2 away, have at it and send me their names.
Holy shnikes. David,
Yeah.
I will figure that out during the news, and we'll figure out how to take you up on that and award those to 2 deserving folks who are able to go tomorrow night. I'll reset that when we come back, but God bless you. God bless Charlie and the entire team at the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project. I know it's a limited amount of people, and I just want you to hug every one of them for me. I wish I could be there. I'm not going to infect anybody with my COVID, David, but
well, we can get you. If anybody can get you a hazmat suit, we can. So if you decide you want to go, we'll shoot out a couple of commandos to get you and bring you in.
We'll figure it out, David. God bless you, and we'll figure out those 2 tickets. That's such a generous opportunity that we're going to take you up on it, and we'll figure it out, and I'll be in contact, okay?
All right, pal. Love you guys.
All right, love you too, buddy. There's David Corlew with Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project. Real quick, very late, I apologize to Mac Morey in the newsroom. He's anxiously anticipating giving you these headlines, and I'm going to figure out how to give you these 2 tickets to the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project Annual Awards Dinner. That's coming up next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.235, I'm Mac Morey with your top stories. Currently 76 degrees in Nashville. A chance of thunderstorms, showers later on this afternoon into this evening. Full weather forecast in 2 minutes. Federal indictments today against 5 former Memphis police officers in the death of a black driver. Derek Dennis.
Multiple counts filed against the 5 former officers, including deprivation of rights under color of law, excessive force, and failure to intervene before the death of Tyree Nichols, a black driver pulled over in a traffic stop last January. Prosecutors say the officers conspired to brutally assault Nichols, ignore his need for immediate medical attention, and then tried to cover up their actions by allegedly failing to report the assault, removing their body-worn cameras, or by characterizing the 29-year-old Nichols as the aggressor. In addition to this federal indictment, the former officers also face state charges related to Nichols' death, to which they have all pleaded not guilty.
Right now in Williamson County, a father has been sentenced to a month in jail and 2 years of probation after taking inappropriate photos of his former sister-in-law. Kate McClinton says that she wants Will Cotton on the sex offender registry. McClinton claimed in court that Cotton would take pictures of her doing chores like opening the fridge or putting kids in the car. Cotton was found guilty in Florida of video voyeurism and was sentenced to 5 years of probation. His record cannot be expunged. And in Pennsylvania, their governor, Josh Shapiro, telling reporters today that he's confident they're going to capture escaped convict Danilo Cavalcante at some point, saying that they have him contained to an area following the incident with a homeowner last night where he broke into a home and later ran off. Former FBI agent Brad Garrett says this could be the break that law enforcement has been waiting to help narrow down this search.
They may have gotten lucky because of this interaction that happened yesterday or last night in reference to him going into a garage, getting his hands on a .22 rifle with a scope and a light, getting shot at by the owner. And that's probably the area that or something close to that, where he is contained. So we'll see.
Officials say he didn't have a shirt on when he was spotted, so they believe that is still the case. That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Hey, folks, it's Matt Murphy. Brink Fiddler and Defend Systems is a name that I know that you can trust when it comes to consultation regarding workplace security, regarding school place security, regarding home security, or any place that people gather, like your church. You know, Brink, for years, worked with the Metro Nashville Police Department, and he created Defend Systems out of a desire to help people be more secure in their workplaces and more comfortable that they had action plans in case something goes wrong. Now, the odds of workplace violence where you work or violence at your church or your school are minuscule. They're very, very low. And I understand we talk about them on a regular basis, but they still remain minuscule, but they're not zero. And hope is not a plan. It's time to get trained with regard to violence mitigation, with regard to action plans, with regard to planning on what to do from a medical perspective in case something goes wrong. Brink has all of those plans, and he will customize each one of them to your facility. The first step is to go to defendsystems.com to find out more information. Contact Brink and his team there, and they'll take it from there. They've been very busy over the course of the summer, working with many schools across the state of Tennessee, many different church groups across the state, many different businesses across the state. If you are in control of a place where people gather, you owe it to yourself to contact Brink Fiddler and Defend Systems. Go to defendsystems.com. That's defendsystems.com for more information. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you. Yes, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We've got lots to do and not a lot of time to do it. We'll check in with Brian Wilson and the drive coming up in moments, see what he has on tap for this afternoon, this Tuesday afternoon. Rain showers making their way through the area. It was drizzling rain in Mount Juliet just moments ago. Don't know what it's doing in your neck of the woods, but I imagine most of us would like to see a rain shower or two. And the conditions, man, the cooler conditions have been absolutely fabulous, although not very cool in my home studio. A lot of lights on, preventing that. Okay, we've got to do this real quick. David Corlew just offered us 2 tickets. So I want you to get near your phones. But before you make calls, here are the parameters, and they're going to be very simple. David Corlew just offered us 2 tickets to the Charlie Daniels Patriot Awards dinner tomorrow night. It is at the City Winery. The event starts, I think it's 6 o'clock. I believe that is correct. Yeah, 5:30 at the City Winery in Nashville, Tennessee tomorrow night. You will be hosted by Chris Young and Stormy Warren. You will see incredible stars like Daryl Worley. Lee Greenwood obviously will be there. Members of our United States military, armed forces, etc. Former New York City Police Commissioner Bernie Carrick, as mentioned by David Corlew, will be there. So all of those individuals there, and you can be there too. Here's what we'll do. Call 615-737-9986. If you are the son or the daughter of a military veteran and you want to take your father or your mother as your guest, I don't know what compels me to do it this way, but I'm compelled to do it this way. So that's the way I'm going to do it. But David said I could do it any way I want. So if you are the son or the daughter of a military veteran and you get in quickly, the first story that I hear that compels me to hand you over the tickets, and, it might just be as simple, and I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I'm not looking at the phone lines because I'm at home. I'm going to do just kind of a blind random. I'm going to tell Bell K a number, and Bell will give me the number of the caller that I ask for. So 615-737-9986. While those get lined up very quickly, I will tell you this. A number of stories we've not gotten to today. We always run out of time. A man was arrested down. This reminds me of why I'm not going to be talked to about 9/11 by liberals. Liberals, you don't get to post remembrances and memes regarding never forget when it comes to 9/11, ever. When you and your ilk are responsible for the porous open southern border that leads to individuals that we have no idea who they are or what their purpose might be in the United States of America to come into this country. And with those individuals come tremendous amounts of drugs. A man was arrested downtown Monday with more than 130 counterfeit fentanyl pills inside of a tobacco can. Arrest warrant states that they were patrolling the area on 3rd Avenue and found him carrying the pills. So they're right downtown. The individual was taken into custody. Officers searched him, reportedly found a dip can with a bunch of pills inside. The pills were made to look like prescription medicine, but they were not. 2 of the pills in the field tested for fentanyl. And that, I don't know what the potency was, but that is a lot of fentanyl. A little fentanyl goes a long way. In the meantime, remember Gabrielle Hansen? We had an altercation with Gabrielle Hansen on my radio show regarding her claim that she knew what happened with the Covenant School shooting 30 minutes after it happened, which was nonsense at the time that she said it, and it's nonsense today. She's running for mayor of Franklin. Let me tell you, I don't necessarily have any love lost for Phil Williams of News Channel 5, but do yourself a favor. I don't have time to get into it right now. Do yourself a favor and go over to News Channel 5 and look at the report Phil Williams has. What an unforced error. Apparently, Gabrielle Hansen is running for mayor of Franklin and cannot find enough friends in Franklin to pose in shots that she puts up on Instagram. Instead, she was stealing or lifting Instagram shots from other places and claiming that these were support groups for her. It's unbelievable. I mean, my grandfather used to say, old saying of Paz, that some people would rather climb a tree and tell a lie than stand on the ground and tell the truth. And apparently, Gabrielle Hansen would rather climb a tree and tell a lie than stand on the ground and tell the truth. And it is an unbelievable, unforced era. And I bring it up just to say, I told you this lady was nuts. She remains nuts. And she's running for mayor of Franklin. And she'll probably get a little vote or
Matt,
two.
I was busy
Yes, sir.
screening calls when you were talking about how are we doing this? You wanted. I'm
about to say a number.
Okay.
You're about to tell me how many calls we have, and I'm going to say one of the numbers, and you're going to give me the number, and I'm going to talk to that person, and we're going to go from there. So how many calls do we have right now?
Right now we have 5.
Okay. Give me number 2. Just give me number 2.
You're on with David.
Okay. Hello, David. David.
Yes, sir.
Uh-oh. Hey, David. You're on with Matt Murphy. Tell me a little about the person that you would like to take to the event tomorrow night.
Yes, sir. It's my brother. He is in Fort Bragg right now.
So he's at Fort Bragg now?
Yeah, but he's stationed in Fort Bragg, but he's down here right now.
Oh, okay. So he'll be able to go tomorrow night.
Yes, sir.
Obviously. How long has he been? How long has he been in the military? Just tell me a little bit about him. You don't have to tell me too much, but just give me a little sense of who your brother is and why you especially want to take him for this opportunity.
Yeah, he has been in the military since 2007. He went to Afghanistan twice. He's been in the military for 17 years, so he's working on retirement right now. I'd like to do it just for a little gift to give back to him. He's done a lot for me.
Older brother or younger brother?
You know, he's my older brother.
Older brother? How much older?
10 years.
Oh man, that's a little too old to give you the business, right? I mean,
yeah.
Did he give you the business when you were a kid? That's my question, David.
Oh yeah. He did.
Well, look, that's good enough for me, David. Randomly, I selected you first, and randomly, you have been picked for the 2 tickets to the Charlie Daniels Patriot Awards dinner tomorrow night at the City Winery. Congratulations. Congratulations to your brother. Don't go anywhere, David, because we need to get some info from you and your brother and make sure that we get that on to David Corlew. So, David, thank you so much for calling. Thank you, others, for calling. I promise you it was a random selection on my part. We just did it that way so as to be fair to everybody. I appreciate all of you listening, and I appreciate every single one of your family members for serving in the United States military and protecting the freedoms and liberties that we enjoy. We'll check in with Brian Wilson next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, the Tennessee Men's Clinic is simply men's health care. I mean, it doesn't get any simpler than that. Now, they're wanting you to know your numbers, and they know that men think differently than women. And I've been talking about this for a while now. You know, women seem to be on top of their numbers. Women, they want to know what the blood pressure is. They want to know what the cholesterol is. They keep in advance of those things in a way that guys don't. I mean, we just kind of whistle past the graveyard. Rub some dirt on it. That's what we always say. Well, if you have low energy, if you don't know why that you have low energy and you just think, well, Murphy, I'm 50 like you. Of course we're going to have low energy. Did you know that your low energy could be the result of low numbers? I mean, some of those numbers could be involving your low T. Well, whatever the reason, Tennessee Men's Clinic can get to the bottom of it, and knowing those numbers can truly change your life. You can experience higher energy, better gains at the gym, better mental clarity, improved sleep patterns. You maybe even notice an increased libido, gentlemen. I mean, if that interests you, the Tennessee Men's Clinic can help. They've successfully treated thousands of men just like you. Give them a call at 615-208-9090, 208-9090, or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. That's TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.